Welcome to Awakening Souls,
a spiritual podcast for the mystics, magical thinkers, sensitives, and spiritual seekers.
We are here to explore all things spiritual, from navigating your awakening, developing your psychic gifts, and so much more.
Together, with our combined experiences, we hope to help guide you on your path to reconnecting with your soul and the beautiful life that comes after.
So come join us on the magical journey of exploring your
Awakening Souls.
Well, good morning, everybody. We're so grateful you've joined us again on our podcast, Awakening Souls, with Candace, Jennifer, and Rose. Today, we're talking about when the shit hits the fan. What happens when the shit hits the fan? And what's that for?
Yeah, well, good morning.
Yeah. So have you guys had an experience like that recently with the shit hitting the fan? And if so, would you like to share that experience with us?
Yeah, let's give a little bit of context. So we pulled some cards last week, as we always do. We pull a topic or we pull cards to come up with the next theme for our podcast. And the world has this funny way of working right around what we're going through at the exact same time that we're doing a podcast episode about it. So we pulled the volcano card. And in our lives, when we pull a volcano card, it means that there's going to be some sort of eruption or disturbance in our lives that we're going to have to face. And I've gotten this card several times in my life. And recently, I have experienced my own mini volcano. At least in my experience, when I get the volcano card, it's usually, hey, it's time to make a change, or there's a change coming in your life.
Change coming,
Yeah. This is the change card.
Yeah.
So I guess today we're talking about how do we handle change that we did not expect.
So how did you handle your change? How are you handling your change? Are you handling it well? Not everybody handles it well, so I got to ask.
I feel like I'm being put on the
You
spot.
are.
There has been some big changes in my life that have been unexpected. So for many of you who have been working with us through the sanctuary, I have made a very difficult decision to leave the sanctuary. That has been a big shift for me because the sanctuary has been my home. It has been where I've made so many great friends. I have learned so much. I have so much to be thankful for there. And it's very difficult to leave what feels like home. But Spirit has been pushing me in a new direction, and not very gently. I have been getting signs and symbols and hints that it was time for me to move in a new direction, but I was not prepared or accepting of what the guidance was from Spirit. So I kind of ignored and was like, okay, I'll let this play out. We'll see what happens. And then I got a big push from Spirit that I had to leave. It was time for me to go off on my own, to go in that different direction. And so I'm in the transition right now of finishing up my last month with Sanctuary and then moving into doing my own solo thing called Awakenings with Candace. And so I'm going to continue doing intuitive work, continue doing mediumship readings, mostly virtually online. And I've got a lot of other ideas that are coming up, but this transition has been incredibly difficult for me. It has taken so much power, so much energy to accept that this is where my path is going, to accept the change, and to do it with as much grace as I possibly can when I'm feeling a lot of different emotions. I'm grieving the path that I was on because I thought for sure this was it for me. I was like, I'm done. I found my home and this is going to be it forever and never, ever. Amen. And Spirit had different plans. And so I'm just trying to navigate this new set of directions. And it's not always easy. And yeah. So that's what's going on with me.
And without this change, there'd be no growth. You'd be stagnant. And that's part of what I channeled was the volcano, it erupts so that we can grow.
Yeah, words of wisdom from Rose could really be great right now.
Yeah. Rose,
Well,
pitching.
as I'm listening to you, all kinds of things are floating through my mind. The first point I thought you made was really important that may have been missed, but that spirit was already giving you signs
Mm,
that you were not really accepting, even if you were receiving them. And I think that happens to me a lot and other people as well when we're in a comfort zone, when we found a comfortable place and spirit starts giving us those messages that maybe, it's time to shift into something else. We ignore that because we like our comfortable place. We know it. We, have connections and roots there. It feels good and it feels safe. And I think that's important. And what can happen is sometimes you get the big volcano where something happens and it makes you realize, oh, okay, we're going in a different direction now. But sometimes things just start getting uncomfortable too.
mhm,
Sometimes you get a little uncomfortable and then a little bit more uncomfortable and a little bit more uncomfortable before you realize it. You are uncomfortable and you're like, oh, okay, I need to make a change. So sometimes the volcano happens quickly and sometimes it happens slowly. But either way, it's like spirit is pushing you that, all right, it's time for another growth spurt, another leveling up, a new experience.
mhm,
And I feel like there's, two sides of that. There's the side of you need that personally to continue your own personal growth. But I also feel like there's a plan for us and there's things for us to do and people we're supposed to connect with to continue helping the world at large. And if we stay in our little comfortable bubble all the time, maybe we are missing opportunities to do bigger things or help more people or
mhm.
make new connections. So the volcano is an opportunity, even though it's a really, really hard opportunity. Yeah. The other point that I really liked is that you talked about the grieving.
Hmm.
And that is so very important that when we are forced to make a change by our volcanoes, it's okay to not like it.
Mm,
It's okay to be angry because usually that is one of the very first emotions that comes through is that anger. And then there's that denial. It's like the stages of grief you have to go through and you have to allow that. And so it's like a mixture of emotions that can be like riding a roller coaster. Sometimes you're excited for the new because, that is exciting and there's new opportunity and you don't know what that's going to look like. But there's also that releasing the old. And some of it is the old idea of what you thought your life was going to look like. But also, some of it is an old version of yourself that you're letting go. So you're
mhm,
almost losing part of yourself with this transition, with this shift and this moving.
mhm,
And boy, you loved that person. That person served you well. That person helped you grow. That was just, she was amazing. And you're letting her go for the opportunity to create a new version of yourself who you don't know yet. It's
mhm,
like meeting a stranger.
mhm.
Yeah.
You're discovering or activating or bringing in a new part of yourself. And so that's scary too. And then there's the whole what's the world around me going to think facet too. So you're like, as you're making a big change, what are my friends going to think? What's my family going to think? Are they going to be judging me? Are they going to be thinking I'm crazy for making this shift? Are they going to be thinking that I'm making the wrong move? And so, I mean, even though it would be great if we could all stand in our power all the time and not care what other people think. We are built to care what others think as part of our survival wiring, so
Mhm.
that we do have community and people around us. But so it's kind of hard to find that balance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's so many levels of things going on that it can be hard to ride that roller coaster and it can be hard sometimes to sort out your feelings and
Yeah.
even just process them because they're coming at you from all different directions.
Mhm. And we all know that grief comes in waves. So when you're
Yeah.
grieving, you're right. I go through these big waves of like, I'm so hopeful and I'm excited about what's to come in my future. And then a huge wave of, I'm angry. I'm angry that I'm leaving. I'm angry that my life is going in a different direction and I didn't want it to. I didn't ask for that. I didn't say, hey, spirit, not consciously, right?
Right.
Maybe subconsciously I did. I don't know. Maybe it was part of the bigger grand plan. I don't know. But there's anger there. There's anger that
Mhm.
I'm being asked to go in a different direction and I don't feel like there's another choice for that. And I must do it. So there's these waves of anger, and then I have to work through that, and then waves of sadness. And yeah, I feel like I'm having to get to know this new version of myself, but I haven't fully, I've been using this word butterfly era, where I'm moving from that safe, comfortable cocoon and I'm learning how to be the butterfly. And I don't know who the butterfly is yet.
Mm-mm.
I'm in that transition period. And I want to say that it's so important when you're in that transition period, whether your big life change has happened because you've suddenly lost a job or because you've decided that you needed to go in a different direction or whatever that may be for you, it's really important to allow yourself time to do the grieving, to
Mhm.
move through the emotions, all of them. And sometimes it takes, no time at all. Maybe it's, just a few weeks of downtime, and sometimes it's much longer. And it's important to really let yourself feel those emotions, work through those emotions first, let them come up because you've got to let go. That's a shedding. It's a shedding of the old version of yourself and all these old thoughts that, the expectations that you had of the outcome that you expected.
So, as you're going through this, Candace, what are the processes that you use to work through your emotions?
Oh, that's a hard question. Uh, I I don't want to say that, oh, emotions are easy for me, but emotions are the one thing that I understand and that I've always understood as a child. And I think that's just something that has been very natural for me. Um, because I didn't have a lot of support growing up around my emotions. I really had to learn how to take care of my emotions by myself. And I don't know what kind of inner strength and power that, I have to dig down deep for and find, but I always manage to do that. And I have to trust. I really have to have a lot of faith and to trust that I am making the correct decision, even though this decision is incredibly difficult. You have to trust in the decision that you're going because, yes, the universe is going to push you in certain directions, but you have a choice. Are you going to trust that path? Are you going to trust your intuition and take that next step? Or are you going to resist it? So I have to have a lot of faith and a lot of trust in myself that I am moving in the right direction. I have to have time to express those emotions when they come up, go journal about them, complain about them to the people who are close to me,
Yeah.
find a way to express them in healthy ways. But I've also had to do a lot of self-reflection, looking back at the year that I've had at the sanctuary and thinking about what have I learned? What could I have done better? What did I not do or not see in the moment? And what can I take from that and bring it into my new path? And then also having a lot of forgiveness for the part that I played in it and forgiving myself for maybe not being perfect at, the first chance that I got and being in business with you guys and not doing what I wanted to do the way that I wanted to do it, maybe not expressing myself the way that I wanted to express myself. And that's taken a lot of strength to forgive myself for the role that I played, but also forgive the environment and my new path and forgive my spirit guides for pushing me in this direction, even though I wasn't prepared mentally for it.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then to release the expectations. I think this is really important to release all expectations um, for what's next, because when you move on from one thing, your brain immediately goes, oh shit, okay, what's next? Like, what can I do
Mhm.
to support my income or to, it feels like dog paddling almost. Like it's like, hurry up, find something else. I need to create this new thing now so I can feel safe and secure. And that gets in the way of letting yourself grieve. when you're too busy thinking about what's next, what can I do to be safe and secure, because you really need that transition period to let go of all of this emotion so you can make room for the good things to come that are meant to come your way. But there's a lot of, and I've done this before in the past where I've left jobs because I knew it was the right thing to do. And then there was the, oh, shit, what am I going to do next? And there's a lot of fear. And when you're in that state of fear and scarcity and, oh my God, what am I going to do? And how am I going to make money? You're really closing off your energy and closing off all the channels of receiving new opportunities and abundance that are all meant to come your way. And they just can't find you because you're too busy doing that dog paddling, right? Closes off your energy. So reminding myself over and over and over again that, I can release, I can open up energetically, I can forgive, and I'm going to continue to invite in more opportunities and just have faith and trust that this is the right move. I am moving in the right direction. Spirit has my back. I'm going to meet the right people when I'm meant to. I'm going to find, exactly what it is that I'm looking for, but mostly giving myself grace in the process of doing that.
Well said. Well said. So Jennifer, you said you did a channel about this. Do you want to share that?
Sure. I can just read what I got. So the volcano card, the shit is going to hit the fan. Life is going to feel like a volcano has erupted. Now is the time to look at what is happening, what's coming up, and deal with it. Like the volcano, it will come up, and it is for you. It's not happening to you, it's happening for you. Without this eruption, there is no growth, I wrote. So work on what's coming up, shadow work, inner child work.
That's important.
This will aid you in leveling up and prepare you for the next eruption in your life. Surrender, acceptance, and growth.
So Jennifer, in your channeling, you mentioned shadow work and inner child work. How does that play into going through your volcano experiences? Because I think that is something that is really important.
I mean, it's part of the eruption, right? Like some of those things are bubbling up to the surface, and it could be something from childhood. It could be trauma related from long time ago. It's just bubbling up to the surface, and without working on it, well, you need to work on it. It comes up, you're going to have to work on it. Otherwise, it's going to keep coming up. It's going to keep erupting.
That's a really, go ahead.
Growth. There will be no growth. So yeah.
God.
Such a good point. So like your volcano could be an external volcano, but it could also be an internal volcano where maybe it's not so much something happening to you or in your environment, but it could be something bubbling up within you that, boy, it needs to be looked at, even though that might be the very last thing you want to do.
Right.
Even those external things that do happen, they're great point, Jennifer. They are happening for you because there are things that need to be looked at, right? When things happen in our environment, it triggers our inner child, it triggers our shadows, it triggers our deepest insecurities. And so the part of that grieving process is also allowing yourself to look at, where am I getting triggered? What about this is making me feel so emotional or so scared? And then how can you soothe that inner part of yourself, soothe that inner child, and remind them that they're safe to move forward on this path?
Yeah, so important to look at that aspect of yourself as you're going through this.
So how do we practice surrender? That's
kicking and screaming.
Kicking and screaming.
That's been my go-to move.
Yeah, I know that's true. No, there is a period of kick and scream, resist a little, be angry about it, right? We have to be honest about our emotions. And when shit hits the fan, it's not comfortable.
No, you've got to be kidding me.
Yes.
I did not sign up for this.
Right?
Yeah, I haven't mastered surrender yet. Some things I'm really good about it, but sometimes I'm just, and then my go-to move is to try and control even more.
Yes.
it kind of triggers that. I mean, that's another, trauma response, an inner child problem is, yeah. It's like when a volcano erupts, I'm just like, I don't think I want to do this. And yeah, fight it for a while. And then eventually I get to a point where I will surrender. But for me, it takes a little while to get there. I've got to throw my little temper tantrum first. And then usually once I like spent that energy, then I can get to a calmer place and really start processing emotions and thinking about it and figuring things out. And, from a human design perspective, I know that's how I work personally anyway. I know that I always have an emotional reaction first, and that I have to just ride that roller coaster, whatever it looks like, and wait till I reach that calm spot where I've gone through all the emotions, and then I actually can get to a place of surrender. So I definitely allow myself the time to throw my temper tantrum and feel those emotions and get angry and sad and hurt and all of those emotions that come along with that.
And that's a very important thing too, is letting yourself feel these things. Don't just suppress it and keep it buried. Feel it.
Even if it's not like, in your mind, you're like, okay, maybe this isn't a great reaction.
Right?
Great way to respond to this, but
You gotta feel.
yeah,
Mhm.
I mean,
Honor
we're
yourself.
human.
Yeah.
We're human. We're going to have the reactions that we have. And, obviously we want to do it with as much, grace as we can and kindness as we can. But, if you're in a safe environment and a place with people that you trust to express those emotions, or even if it's by yourself, express the emotions that you need to express, say the things that you need to say, because if you're going to hold it back, what good does that do you? You're just holding on to unsaid words and unsaid feelings, and those are just going to harbor inside your body as energy and wreak havoc later on. Express yourself, whatever way you have to do that, that is safe for your other people around you and yourself, of course. Do it. Maybe that's through art. Maybe that's through dancing and movement. Maybe that's going to take a run. Maybe that is kicking and screaming in your pillow for a little while and throwing a 2-year-old temper tantrum. Damn it. That's okay. I give you permission to do it.
I was going to say, I do think that we've been trained, at least my generation, to repress, repress, repress.
Yes.
And so it took me a long time to actually be okay expressing my emotions because I was so trained not to.
Before I think we even get to surrender, I think we have to move into acceptance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Accepting, okay, this is the path we're going on. This is the change that is happening in my life. There's nothing that I can do at this point I can't go back in time. I can't fix it. I can't do anything different at this point. I just have to accept that this is it and take the lessons that I've learned, take them with me for the future. And then I think eventually you do get to a place of surrender, and surrender can sometimes feeling like a giving up. Like,
A little bit.
like I give up. I
Yeah.
give up control. I give up trying so hard. I give up, putting in all this time and energy. And I think that's also okay and important, because when you give up, you are releasing all the energy that you've been holding on to. Because resistance comes from wanting to control, wanting to micromanage, wanting to know the future. And we do not always have that luxury. In fact, I don't think anyone has that luxury of really knowing, not even psychics who can see the future, because the future is always changing. And we do have to come to a level of acceptance for being pushed on different paths, having breakups, losing jobs. The only thing that's constant in our lives is going to be change. And we have to accept that at some point. And then the surrender is the energetically of letting go of the micromanaging and of the controlling and needing to know all the details. And that feels good when you get to a place of surrender. It does feel like,
Yeah. A little
like,
freeing.
yeah. And that place of surrender, that place where you feel free, is the place where you start to create something new. Is the place where you start to allow new channels of abundance and opportunities to flow to you. Damn, I feel like we go deep here on Awakening Souls.
We have been. And I wasn't expecting it. And
Ooh, what did I write down? Surrender means letting go of needing to know exactly what the future holds, letting go of micromanaging your life and path, letting go of any attachment and expectations to the outcome, including the expectations and attachment to money.
Oh, money. I was like, you
Mm.
said all that, but the money part you didn't.
Yeah, the money almost adds a whole different layer and
It
energy
really
to
does.
it,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah. As soon as you said it, I was like, oh,
Yeah, yeah. You could feel the heaviness of that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Just the money thing. I
just
didn't.
the money word.
Oh,
I think it's a bad word.
uh-oh.
It adds an entire another layer of stress.
Yeah.
Of like, no, it's like, you don't understand. I need to control this thing and micromanage it because if I don't have money. And if I don't have money, that means I don't have, safety. I don't have security. My family doesn't have safety or security.
Mhm.
And I wish there was another way to get around that. That is the most difficult thing to accept when you've made a life change because a volcano erupted and it affects your finances.
Mhm.
And you cannot always plan for that. You can't always plan for when that's going to happen and, have a savings or have a pension or have something that's going to, support you. It's always best if you can have that, but that's just not always the case.
No, especially for people that are younger and are more starting out, that those kinds of resources take time to build for most people. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It's like, and we have this love-hate relationship with money, and that is difficult. So some days I just, I love money. It's the best. And I try and be so positive, like it's my best friend. And,
Mhm.
when I'm organizing the cash that I have, I put it in a neat pile. All the heads are facing the same way. And then I put a crystal on top and I give gratitude to the money and thank it for coming into my life. And so, most of the time I'm really trying to foster this positive relationship because I want it to feel loved and welcomed. I'm almost like I'm personifying it. Um, but other times when I'm trying to, you know, purchase things that are really expensive or that feel expensive, I don't know that they really are, then I'm feeling a lack of it.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole jealousy aspect of, in my mind, I see everybody else doing just fine financially. And I'm like, well, why is it hard for me? And they're all in my mind doing really great. So that is such a complex issue.
It just
Yeah.
it adds a new layer of scarcity when you have to think about major life changes and how it's going to affect you financially and affect your life and your family. And that makes the accepting part so much more difficult because there are real consequences for not having money flow coming in.
Mhm.
And I would love to tell you that, I've got the secret sauce. I know how to help you. I don't. And I have to do the same thing of allowing myself to grieve the loss of the income, allowing myself to accept and trust and have faith and hope and continue to work on those triggers that come up, and if it is around money and scarcity, then I have to look at that. I can't ignore it. Even if I'm in a tight spot, I have to pinch pennies and I have to look at, okay, where's my scarcity mindset with money coming in? And where is this something that I can change in my brain, change my money story in my brain? And it goes a little bit deeper than looking at just the way you interact with money and how you feel about money. It also means maybe looking at how your family is looking at money. How are you spending money? How is money, money's supposed to be a resource that is coming in, flows in and out of your lives, in and out in your lives. And it's meant to be a support to your life, not the all, right? Not the end all be all of your life. And we don't see it as support. We see it as we need it. And that needing energy shuts down the flow of abundance. So then we have to trust. We have to keep opening up our energies and allowing that flow to come in and say, I'm open to receiving all forms of abundance in all channels. And that channel may not look like actual money. It may look like somebody made you dinner for free one night and brought it over to your home. That's a form of abundance. Maybe you found a penny on the ground. Oh my God, yes. Thank you, Lord. There is money coming into my life. And there's other ways to receive abundance, support from family and friends, and just keep building that trust, knowing that you are safe. The universe is trying to take care of you. Just keep opening up that energy and allowing the flow of abundance to come in, and recognize where you're receiving that abundance in all forms, not just in money. And also, I wanted to say that sometimes it means looking at the beliefs around money with your parents, how you were raised around money. That creates, especially when you're very young, between 0 and 14 years old, the way your family treated money, the subconscious beliefs that they had, what you watched them go through as far as money, how they talked about money, how they spent money, maybe how they didn't spend money. All of those are ingrained in our subconscious beliefs about, how we can create money or what we're worthy of. And sometimes that does wonders for people and they become billionaires, and sometimes it means that we adopt those same insecurities about money, and we need to look at that and rewrite the story. And I think it means coming back to some of those fundamental practices that we talk about all the time, like meditation.
I wasn't going to say it.
Meditation is a good way to practice surrender, to
Mhm.
practice letting go of that ego mind, the fear, the scarcity mindset that's always, running in the background of our minds. And you have to get to a point of surrender when you're doing a meditation.
Mhm.
So you got to train your body, your nervous system, your energy system to go into that surrender state. And that surrender state is where we receive the most. And you do that through meditation.
Mhm.
Just
Yeah,
to
and
circle it back around. Oh.
yeah, and if you do meditation regularly, you're surrendering on it. Like, let's say you do a daily meditation,
Daily,
you're
yeah.
surrendering daily and
Mhm.
allowing that light to come in to your being every single day. And of course, the problem with that is if you keep meditating and you keep bringing in that light that's going to keep healing, it's going to bring up more volcanoes.
Yes. Yes.
Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but
Nope.
that's the cycle. It's the healing cycle. When I pulled cards for this, the first card I got was the medicine wheel. All about volcanoes are part of that healing cycle. And if you think you're not ever going to have a volcano again in your life, you're probably wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because those volcanoes really push things to the surface for us to look at. And they say, okay, it's time to come out of that comfort zone. It's time to look at things. It's time to push forward and grow, go through another level of expansion. And I think this is one of the reasons we talk about how awakenings are not a one and done thing. Awakenings are in themselves a volcano. And it's
Mm-hmm.
all about up leveling and expansion and growth. We crave that as human beings, as much as you can argue all you want, okay? And say, do not crave that, Candace. Don't you tell me that you do. Your soul craves it. Your soul wants the expansion and growth.
Yeah.
And so that's why we keep experiencing those volcanoes.
One thing I think is interesting to think about, Candace, for your situation is you're a healer and an energy worker and a intuitive and a medium. And I've been in this business for a little while now. And I do notice people in this business tend to shift a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, when I first started it, people would work together and then they would drift apart or they would move from different locations regularly. And over my time doing this profession, I've been in 4 different locations over about 5 years. So, I mean, I've moved regularly. I've switched partners and business partners very regularly. And I think those of us in this industry or even focused in this area of our lives are bringing in that light, and it's causing us to change more quickly.
Mhm.
So I feel like that's not necessarily a bad thing when we're shifting from one group of people to another or shifting locations. And I think that a deeper reason might also be that as we're coming in contact with different people, they're giving us gifts that we need. They're activating things within us or teaching us things that we need on our path. We're doing the same for them. And then once we've exchanged whatever we needed to exchange, we've done what we've done what we came there to do in that relationship. And now it's time for us to drift apart and find the next connection that's going to help us grow the next step on our path. And so we can in turn give new people the gifts that we have to share. So I feel like in this industry and people that are really focused on spiritual growth, we do tend to shift around more. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, though it is uncomfortable.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, changing locations, changing people that I'm working with, it's always been uncomfortable. But in the end, when I look back at each place that I've worked with, each business partner that I've had, I've learned and gained something from each and every one of those relationships in a beautiful way, and I wouldn't change anything. So
Mhm.
I do feel like there is purpose underlying those changes and shifts that we go through.
So this is just another cycle of your butterfly era,
Mhm.
moving out of the cocoon into the transformed self.
Transforming self.
Mm. Mic drop.
Well, so if the shit is hitting your fan, just know that it's happening for you, not to you. Just look into yourself, look inside, see what's bubbling up to the surface, and maybe give it some tender loving care. So until next week, we'll see you later.